legally speaking, with me, Tarun Nangia. It's 4 years since GST was announced by the Prime Minister of India. The bill was passed, GST is into effect. Then Finance Minister Arun Jaitley read out the bill, then it was passed. We all have seen what has happened in the past 4 years. A lot of taxes were done away with. We have one single tax now. Of course, there are slabs. We have your 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%, surcharges. That all is there. But still, it's much better than the earlier system. So, but India works on the principle of, slow improvement always. We always better what, we can. So what better can be done and what have we achieved? So what has been the positive journey and what better can be done? And who better than three experts to share this with us? I have with me Ma'am Aruna Sharma. She served as Secretary to Government of India and is currently a board member. I have with me Mr. Gagan Kumar. He is an advocate, runs his law firm called Krishnomics Legal. I have with me Mr. Rajneesh Goenka. He's heading an association of MSMEs, micro, small and medium enterprises, quite a vocal voice in the MSME sector, also director on MMTC. Thank you, all three of you, for sparing time at a short notice and joining us with this very important issue. May I request Ma'am Aruna Sharma to open the discussion. What have we achieved with GST and where are we headed?
You have a very timely discussion you have picked up, because GST was thought to be a game changer where the consumption tax was to come in the forefront and the direct taxes percentage was to be balanced out by this consumption tax. And that's why a lot of merging took place and a sharing formula was worked out between the state and the center. So that was a very good move. But of course, there are some hitches as we are moving towards it in the 4 years, that even though the GST collection is going up, the overall collection has come down. And there is a problem to share this with the state. And last 2 years has been real bad because of the COVID and pandemic, so which was something which was not thought of before. But if you look at the corrections which are needed, I will talk something very two short-term corrections. Today the world has moved towards the e-commerce platform. Now you are having a differentiation that those who have a turnover less than 40 lakhs in a retail shop, they need not be with the GST. But the moment they shift into e-commerce, we want them to be in GST. Now this we have to correct it. We want everybody to be on the GST. So in our format, a nil should come right at the top. So somebody just types their nil and that should be the end of their story, so that we get more and more people whose turnover is smaller and who need not get into the cumbersome feeding. The second most important, if you go to the GST portal, if you want to go for the e-payment mode, what do you get in the services? You get you want to create a challan, which you don't want to because your CA has created. You want to track the challan, which you don't want to because you don't want to view the challan. Only you will visit it when you want to print out the receipt of it. What you want is an option, go for e-payment. That option is completely missing there. And that becomes more vital because many of the payment gateway with your bank account over last month, they are not going at one stroke. It is creating a lot of problem. So what is to be corrected, which is a very short term, easy to correct, is to put an option here that go for the e-payment. So instead of navigating everywhere, go for an e-payment and you clear it so that you need not go through your bank account through NIFT and RTGS. You can straight away go by the GST portal. And if you're going by NIFT and other things, even a bank like SBI, the link to the payment gateway is getting disrupted every time and you are not able to do it. So this needs to be constantly washed and corrected. It's a simple correction. The second, a little difficult correction is that you have to make your format much simpler. It is very complicated. Without a CA's help to fill it out is an ordeal. And therefore, many people try to escape coming from the GST fold. That escape means we are losing on the revenue, we are losing on the tax, and a business is happening which is not a digital payment business, which is more into a cash payment business. So where on one hand, we want more and more digital payment shift, which is happening at a very fast rate, but equally we have 15 lakh crores cash running in the market. And this cash running in the market is unfortunately not so much in the remote areas as in the metropolitan towns like Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, where it is with the sole purpose to avoid the taxation. So you will have many big shops not giving the bill because they want to avoid the GST payment. So the more we shift to the e-commerce platform, the more we shift to the e-payments, then GST contribution and GST mandatory deduction will increase. So our policies has to be to more a shift towards it. And that is where our policies are also playing, that many of the side policies which we are having, a policy on e-commerce, a policy on others, it is not supporting it. It is creating more hindrances. So that needs to be corrected, because in the e-commerce policy, if we make it that you can't have a related party more than 2% as per the company's law, it becomes a related party. Then you are adding into a problem. Like Mr. Goenka is heading the MSME. Now today for MSME, it's a big ordeal. So if we are talking of GST, a good move, but very important to have a prompt sharing with the state governments so that they are encouraged to bring the natural gas, petroleum, diesel, excise, everything into the GST fold, which today they are scared because they are not getting their share there properly, or even their 41% from the entire Government of India budget, they are not getting timely. So that has to be, we have to evolve a mechanism of promptness if we want GST to be successful. The second, the shortcut, I said, you must have under services, a separate tick for the e-payment where people straight away go. You fill your numbers there and you go straight for the e-payment. Yes, it has.
Point well taken, ma'am. We'll come back to this in a moment. I'll go to Rajneesh Goenka ji. Mr. Goenka, your opening comment, and also if anything you want to add to what ma'am is saying.
See, ma'am is technically very sound, and me and my MSMEs, they're not very sound. They are simple people, innocent. They don't know the law very much. And unfortunately, these laws are made by people who know more English. They are from Harvard, and they make in such a efficient English that a normal man is not able to understand. They have to go to the chartered accountants and the consultants, which they cannot afford. So this is a very big problem for me and my sector, that we are simple people. Only 2-3% people they know and they can understand this English. I had been pleading with the government that it should be in a very simple way, that we should be able to comply ourselves instead of going to the consultant. We cannot afford some time. So it should be very much simplified and very simple to do it. Because my MSMEs, they want to comply with the laws. But once they don't understand how they can comply with we are the most honest taxpayers on the earth. But sometimes we don't understand this Inspector Raj and so many compliances, all these things make us very complicated. And then we think, okay, let's leave it. And the madam is saying 3 lakh crore is running in the market, then we are forced to do that. We are forced to evade those things, because it's not that we don't want to pay the taxes. We want to pay the taxes. We are the nationalist people, honest people, but we are made to avoid all these things. This is the first command. Before going further, I will like to compliment the government. It was lingering, GST was lingering since 2004. The earlier governments, they had been thinking of it, they had been asking for it, but they didn't do it. Finally, the government came and they had the courage to do it. It's not only a matter of tax. You see, when we are talking about income of the government, taxation, regulations, they are for the people. 90% of this country, industry and entrepreneurs are MSMEs. And if I give you some numbers, we are not less than a number of farmers. Mr. Modi once told that there are 12 crore MSMEs involved in 7 crore enterprises. And if we take 12 crore people and if we take 5 family members each, we are more than 60-70 crore people who are dependent on MSME.
Point well taken. The only main point that I could now take out from you said was Inspector Raj, and it is very interesting. Man is a policy maker. You are a businessman, and now I have a lawyer. So He is the one who you go to when there is some problem between the policy maker and the payer. So, Mr. Gagan Kumar, you are the one who people go to when there is a GST problem. I know you deal with these cases. So, what have we achieved and where are we headed? And what are the problems, of course?
Thanks, Tarun, for bringing all of us together on this platform. On a lighter note, for a tax practitioner, we don't have to look for the clients. We just need to identify victims. So
that's the right word.
So, but to talk about GST, let me meander a bit. See why this law came in the first place. The thought process was to reduce the cascading effect and make the input tax credit available seamlessly. But then we are a diversified country. We have many challenges. We have small traders. We have people selling necessary items which cannot afford a higher rate of tax. And then we had certain classes of businessmen where tax collection was challenging, and then we had reverse charge mechanism. So these things bring in distortion in the system. So one is the legal aspect. The second is the technological aspect. Now, ever since this government came into power in 2014, the focus has been to bring in things in a digital manner where the human intervention is reduced to a minimum. Now, that requires a lot of technological adaptation. And what ma'am also pointed out, that looking at the distortion which are there and to address the concern of everyone, if you were to write a software that if this, then this, but then in this scenario, it would happen in this manner. So a lot of ifs and buts keep on cropping up. So you have to write that software in a manner that everything gets addressed. Now that leads to a situation where the implementation becomes so cumbersome and it ends up becoming what we call an artificial barrier of entry. Now, for a big corporate, they can have an in-house tax team of 20, 30, 40, 100 chartered accountants, and they can take care of those things. And as I have always been saying on your show also, that any law for that matter has to be inclusive in nature. It has been the dream of every prime minister of this country that the benefit should reach to the last man of the society. Similarly, the laws, especially tax laws, and which are more focused on compliance, should be drafted in a manner that the common man, which is the MSME sector. Now here, I'll digress a bit. If you look at the organized sector is getting technologically advanced. It is adopting artificial intelligence. It is adopting various other tools. As a result, it is not creating more jobs. It is actually reducing the job. So it is the MSME and the so-called unorganized sector which is creating the job, which is offering job to the people who are not that much skilled. Now, the question is that is the present system of tax collection is something which can be implemented by them, and that is where the point of Mr. Goenka comes, that not everybody is affording or can afford a chartered accountant, and in smaller towns you may not even have chartered accountants available around you. So in my view, this law is fantastic in its philosophy. Conceptually it is well written, but the implementation and especially the technological aspect, that is one aspect, and the bit of enforcement and the bit of bureaucratic control, which I'll talk about in the later part, needs to be addressed.
I'll take this question to ma'am. It has become kind of inevitable that you can't file GST with the help of a chartered accountant. You need a chartered accountant. I see many consultants who used to manage their filings earlier now need a chartered accountant for GST. And they have kind of become dependent on their CA for things that they could do easily earlier. I think even the CAs are burdened post GST. Can there be a solution to this problem, ma'am?
Yes, there has to be a solution. If we want, very correctly, both of my co-panelists, Mr. Goenka and Gagan, said that GST is something we have to stabilize it. We have to make it a successful model. You know, there is no question of going back on it. This is something we have to go. So now the beauty lies in that how we make it more widespread and inclusive and make it simpler. Now, simpler is your formatting has to be simpler. The day you talk of an IT or technology, it means backend you can create all complications which are needed, but front end has to be very simple. Otherwise, what is the need of a technology if we make the front end itself so complicated? So that is where the beauty lies, that you should make the backend all complications and make the front end into a simpler format. Now, dependency on CA is increasing because you are asking a share between the central and the state GST, which can easily move to the backend. Like the moment you put it, you say, yes, I share 10%, 20%, 10 to 90, or 50 is to 50, or 0 is to 100. That's all. You just tick the boxes, and backend you can share it between the state GST and the central GST. Now here you expect a person to divide and then what they get as a deduction and how much minus you have to do, in whose minus you have to do. So all that you are making it very complicated. So you have to make the form very simple. Backend, you should do all the calculations that are needed. And if we want it to be more inclusive, it has to be a minimalistic information. Some of the permanent information, you need not repeat it every time. If it's a repeat payment with the same vendors and same people, it should be like an auto mode, it should come into it. And then you just fill in that your recent bills, whatever you want to put it, and then go ahead with it. Because here you are expected to put all the vouchers, all the bills, and you don't get credit if somebody in the chain has missed out or delayed it. And that is where it is creating a lot of complications. So input advantage, which is a biggest beauty of the GST, gets misled. And what Mr. Goenka very correctly said, then the easiest way is to avoid. Like you don't understand, you avoid.
You avoid because it's a fear of the unknown. I don't know what to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So therefore, simplicity of the format, which has to be exactly, I remember when we started off with computerization of land records and other computerization in government, we stuck to the same format what they are used to it. If they are used to Bahi Khata, then make a format something similar to Bahi Khata, which they understand to feed it. And in that, you create a backend from that same data. How do you give them an advantage of it? Right. That is the best way of going it, instead of putting it everything complicated, something they understand, something they have been filling it for years together, and it is possible because in every new computerization in governance, that is a model that has been adopted. But here in GST, we created a new format, completely new, which people found it very difficult to understand. You know, first of all, what it is, how it is, what is sin, what is your this number, that number. You ended up with having so many numbers. So that is where it is very important that we make it simple. And then in the remote areas, we must have a team of people who handhold them. So which could be the marketing places which take the lead, which could be the MSME forums which take the lead, which could be any body which takes the lead, to handhold them at least for some time, or maybe a conglomerate of people who help these people to get on board. And the moment they understand, yes, it could be more voluntary in the beginning. You allow CSR funding to go their money there. You allow people to spend their little money so that these people get free of charge. And then slowly, once they understand the advantage of it, then they will be able to take off. Now that effort we missed out, suddenly we implemented and we said, okay, now go ahead, start running, without understanding whether they knew how to run. So that is the solution into it, that make format simple, similar to what they are used to. Backend, you create whatever complications you want to do.
I hope, Pam, the suggestions that you have said on the show today of making the format simple, the policymakers take cognizance of it. Because as Mr. Goenka also says, there's a tendency to avoid completely go in the way where they deal in cash and the government loses revenue. Some people have told me that some people who sell daily food items, even they come under GST. But they have absolutely no idea to appoint a CA. There are many small businessmen in India who have...
No, they are one-man business or two-man business. They can't afford to
do that. They have numbers. I mean, they are taxable people, but they don't know how to manage this. They earn fair good amount of money. I'll go to Mr. Gagan Kumar and then Mr. Rajneesh Goenka. Do you think we need to reduce the slabs or you're okay with the slabs of 5, 12, 18, 28?
See, the best case scenario is that we have a single rate and that would take care of many things. But as I said in the beginning, that looking at the diversity of the products and the services you tend to tax luxury items at a higher rate and the essential commodities at a lower rate. But touching upon the point which ma'am raised, see, a small businessman is generally below the threshold, but and therefore he is not within the ambit of GST. But the moment he enrolls himself as a trader on a e-commerce portal, and that is where the interstate business starts. So that is where he is obliged to abide by the GST laws, and that is where the compliance starts. Now, I had written this article during lockdown also, that this can be used as a panacea to contain the migration and ensure that the migration doesn't happen again. If we put that onus on the e-commerce companies, and in some manner, as ma'am suggested, that some backend has to be created, that I, being a seller, I just upload my cash register, done. I don't have to do anything. Let the backend calculate the input credit to me, whatever is due to me, let it be adjusted. If I paid excess, let the excess tax be refunded to me. If we can create that kind of model, and it is technologically, to my mind, is possible.
Yes.
It's just that we would have to put some brilliant brains, which we have no dearth of in this country. And we can achieve that. And that way, the concern of MSME sector would be taken care of. They will not be shying away from the compliances, and the government will also benefit immensely. The fallout of that benefit, not fallout, the other ancillary benefit. A large sector of economy will come into the formal sector, and the lot of degree of corruption or the tax evasion or many other ill effects of informal economy will be taken care of. So as of now, we know in smaller towns, people drive Jaguars, but probably they're not paying any tax. In cities like Delhi, even if you're driving an Alto, you may be paying much higher tax than a person driving a Jaguar in a tier 2 or tier 3 city.
That's a very easy comparison, which I think common viewers will easily understand. Mr. Rajesh Kumar, one final comment from you. You think the slabs needs to go away? Give me one merit rate, one demerit, either 18% or 0.
The government for going in for GST regime, because it has given one nation simplicity to MSMEs to operate from one place throughout the country. One thing is attached in this, we are a welfare state. We have not to only see the tax collection, money collection from the people, we have to see their welfare also. So this has given a sense of belongingness all India. Tax, one nation, one person, our nation. This thing I compliment for the government. Coming to the bureaucracy, I want that all officers and bureaucrats should be like Mrs. Sharma. Because I have a feeling as a MSME that all these complications are created so that we go to them and try to see that how they can help us, They don't want simplicity. They don't want to do it yourself. They want to go to them or go to the consultant because they have sharing with the consultants. So third, I want that, taxes for the people, by the people, for the people. Today, you are giving vaccine worth 1,000 rupees free to the people. State is saying, I am giving, center is saying, I am giving. Why not leave these smaller people? We have three categories: micro, small, and medium. Medium people can certainly employ chartered accountants. They should be taxed, and they are paying. Corporates are paying the major tax. We should be given some relaxation. We should be given an opportunity to be honest. Let there be a threshold of 2 crores, 3 crores. Let us work, for the nation. We have been working in the COVID, as frontline workers. We were maintaining the supply chain when in London supply chain disrupted and people broke the supermarkets. In India, nothing happened. We were also one of the persons, frontline army. So give us simple way. Okay, 3 crores, maintain your account, give us 1% and go. You don't need to be so involved in.
From what you said, Mr. Goenka, is a simple structure
Yes.
and less complexity.
Yeah.
Which a common intelligent businessman can understand. You don't need any special intelligence.
Yeah. And the collection will be more. I tell you, collection will be more if you say, give us 1%, 2% and maintain and do it. We will pay more.
Collection will be more. I hope the finance ministry mandates, the finance minister and also the prime minister takes heed of the input shared by the panel. Because I think more than ever, the government is today receptive of the needs of the business people, because the economy is going through a tough situation and the government wants it to improve. So the government is doing its best. And let us see if on the GST front, we see some changes. This is the first show in our series of shows that we are going to now do on GST. We are going to take problems one by one to the government, because this is what is needed today. If India has to get out from the slow growth cycle and enter the 6-7% growth rate that we all aspire to, we can always go to 10%, but that road should cross 6-7% first. So let us aspire to 6-7%. I would like to thank Ma'am Aruna Sharma.
Tarun, is it possible to make one comment very quickly?
Very quickly in 10 seconds.
Yeah. So you see, there are three obstructions which government should avoid. One is the too much of power to the bureaucracy. You see, we have arrest provisions, but it's been 4 years, we have not seen a successful prosecution. So that's a big deterrence. The second obstruction which government should avoid is politicians offering freebies, because that's just an opiating the population. And thirdly, not making this such a beautiful provision as an artificial barrier to the new businesses.
You have given me a good topic for my next show. Should arrest provisions in GST go? That's a very important thing. We'll take it up. Thank you, Mr. Gagan Kumar. Thank you, Mr. Goenka. Thank you, viewers, for joining us on this show.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.